Welcome back. Today I'm going to demonstrate a power off landing. The airport I've chosen is San Bernardino International Airport in California. The reason I chose it is because it has a 10,000 foot runway, very forgiving. It's favored among CFIs to teach students new types of landings. We're going to gently ease the throttle in. We're going to give it full power. We're going to take a look at the RPMs. The RPMs are good. Take a look at the airspeed. The airspeed is live. We're going to roll down the center line. At 50 knots, we'll rotate. We'll maintain the horizon look until we reach 74 knots, the best rate of climb speed for a Cessna 172. We're going to take a look back. We're going to make sure we're lined up with the runway. After 400 feet AGL, we can start turning onto the crosswind. One thing to notice about this airport, because the traffic pattern altitude is at 800 feet AGL, it's coming in pretty fast, so we're going to start lowering the nose a lot sooner. We're going to start lowering the nose about right now. The airspeed is going to start picking up. We're going to roll out on crosswind real quick. We're going to take a look under the wing, make sure we have no traffic, and we're going to roll right back into the downwind. Now the airspeed is coming into 90 knots. At 90 knots, we'll reduce the RPMs. We're going to maintain the airspeed. We're going to maintain the altitude. We're going to roll out onto the downwind. We're still going to maintain the airspeed. We're going to maintain the altitude. And we're going to take a look at the runway. Now this runway is massive. The way you do a power off landing is that you take out all power. You reduce your RPMs to idle. As soon as you reduce the RPMs to idle, the very first thing that needs to happen is you need to trim this airplane for the best glide speed. Okay, we're at the threshold, so we're going to reduce all power. From this point on, we will not touch the power. First thing we do is we trim the airplane for 68 knots. That is the best glide speed in a Cessna 172. And we will not do a square pattern. You do not do a square pattern with a power off landing. What you're going to do is a gentle half circle with no more than 12 degrees of bank at any point. If you have more than 12 degrees of bank, you will lose altitude much quicker than you should. You want to keep all the altitude you can as long as you can to get yourself back to the runway. So we're going to keep looking at the airspeed and make sure it's 68. We're going to keep looking at the runway, make sure we're turning towards it. Look at the airspeed, look at the runway. You will only use flaps if you can make the runway. At this point, it looks like we can make the runway, so actually we can add 10 degrees of flaps. We're high enough to add 20 degrees of flaps, but we will not touch the flaps anymore. We're perfectly fine to land with 20 degrees of flaps. You don't want to mess with flaps when you're too low. You're going to notice this runway is very wide, so our flare is going to look like we're low. Here comes this gentle flare. Keep that nose up as long as you can. Touchdown. Keep the nose wheel up as long as you can. Let it gently fall down. So that was a power off landing. There are several different ways of doing the power off landing. You just have to adapt it to the situation. Example would be flaps. Sometimes you'll add 30 degrees, sometimes you'll add none, and sometimes you'll actually have to add low power to make it if you didn't plan right. So just do the best you can and practice.